Alright, ICT traders, just a quick one. I want to share this type of ICT institutional entry model with you. I basically call it the ICT institutional confluence entry. It's just an entry that uses a confluence. Every time I see this type of entry, it works most of the time. I want to share with you. I have actually two of them. I want to share the first one with you in this video, and then the second one I will make a separate video on that. So this type of confluence, the first one is right here. It's basically a confluence between either a mitigation block and a fair value gap, or a breaker block and a fair value gap. If you don't know what a breaker block or a mitigation block is, you can simply head over to my YouTube channel and come to the playlist. You're going to see a whole dedicated playlist for a breaker block and a mitigation block. This is a breaker block and this is mitigation block, a complete guide for you to understand what a breaker and a mitigation block is all about. So let's take a look at how this confluence happens. So every time you see price gives you this particular confluence where you see either a mitigation block that has a fair value gap around it or a breaker block that has a fair value gap around it, this is how you're going to use it. It's a confluence that seldom fails. You will hardly see this kind of confluence failing whenever you take trades with it. All right, I'll go to my chart shortly and show you how to spot them and how to basically use it for trade entry. We have both a bearish mitigation block and a bullish mitigation block. Likewise, we have a bearish breaker block and a bullish breaker block. So let me show you a typical example of what that means right here. Now you have to understand that what I'm showing you right here in this video is basically just the entry model. You have to use every ICT concept possible, such as break of structure, shifting market structure, and understanding the order flow before you can use this information. All right, so right here is a typical example of what I mean. Look at this. Price came, had this is a breaker. Breaker normally takes out liquidity. All right, takes out liquidity. You can see liquidity being taken out below here. That is a breaker. All right, takes out liquidity, and we are basically going to look at this particular candlestick as our breaker, this blue candlestick. All right, let me show you that as our breaker. So we obviously breached above here, shifted market structure right over there. All right, we have shifted market structure right over here. So what do we have here? Right here is a breaker and a fair value gap, a very big one. This one, a fair value gap and a breaker. So notice how this happens. Price came back and then retested this breaker block right there. Let me show you how the retest happened. Right here, price came back and then retested it, and you can obviously see that price had this retest, came back. Notice how the bodies of the candles just got rejected around these areas. So this is the first kind of model, a confluence of a fair value gap that has a breaker block inside of it. All right, so most of these models, you may see them time and again happening on your chart. Sometimes you may not necessarily see them, but you will obviously be noticing some of these entries, and then you can pick the ones that work for you and you can use it for entry. So price came back, retest here, and obviously you can enter here and you can use this entry, but the ultimate thing is that your stop loss is definitely below, right here, below the fair value gap. All right, that is where your stop loss is, and you will target the opposing liquidity for this kind of entry. All right, you will target the opposing liquidity, which is right above here, for this type of entry. So this is the first one, the confluence between a breaker block and a mitigation block. Guys, don't forget that. A breaker block and a mitigation block. Confluence entry. ICT confluence entry. I hope I spelled confluence correctly. So ICT confluence entry, the first one I was showing you is a breaker block, right? Breaker block and a fair value gap, FVG. Let me just give it fair value gap. So that is the first one. And then the second one is a mitigation block. All right, that one we'll find it on our chart. Mitigation block and a fair value gap. This is the second one. So you'll obviously see some of these things time and again on your chart, the confluence. And if you are conversant with what ICT is teaching, this type of entry is what ICT calls institutional order flow entry drill type 2. There are two types of institutional order flow entry drill. There is type 1 and type 2. This is the type 2 of institutional order flow entry drill, where you will find a fair value gap with an old high or an old low. So this is the first type of entry. Let's see if we can find another kind of entry. And look at this. I'm tempted to call this another entry, just a small one right here. All right, you can see this is a fair value gap with this red candle and price pushed into it halfway and then shoot up, confluencing with this old high right here. This is also a breaker block. This is another entry that you can use. Obviously, very small one. Another entry you can use, and you can see how it went. All right, let's see more examples. All right, just a little scroll and I saw this one. I'm tempted to call it this type of entry too. You can see price came, this movement right here. Have these came back like this and pushed up, and price came back. Notice how price respected this area where there is a fair value gap and this bullish breaker block. It's not a perfect one, but you can see three confluences here: an order block, a fair value gap, and this breaker block. So you can use these confluences and take trades too. Very good confluence: a breaker, a bullish order block, and a fair value gap. Three of them are right there, even though it's not part of what I showed you. But sometimes trading is you checking what works and using it. If I see this confluence, I will definitely take the trade, especially when I saw this shift in market structure price coming back. This is the shift in market structure I just said, this particular place. All right, I would like to use that place because this place is a bit chunky. So this is my shift in market structure in regard to this. As I saw this small retracement pushing down, shift in market structure price coming back into these three confluences. It's a perfect one for me. Let me see more examples for you. All right, guys, I just scrolled just below that place. I saw this one too that looks like the same thing I was showing you, a mitigation block, price come back, and then had a fair value gap right here. And then look at this area, price coming back to that area. Is a confluence to me. I'm seeing both a fair value gap and a mitigation block. You can actually see that price has pushed into this entire area. All right, this area is a very perfect place for taking trade. So you're going to see this time and again on your chart. I'm going to show you the second one, which is the type of entry that I call the institutional order flow entry drill type 2. Is also a confluence. It's one of the most powerful. I will make a video separately and show you that after you finish this particular video. So you will look out for this kind of confirmation every time you're trying to enter your trade. And of course, I told you earlier that this is not showing you how to trade everything. I'm just showing you the last confirmation or kind of things you need to see, and then you pick your trade. Assuming you see a bullish movement or a bearish movement and you want to take a bullish trade or a bearish trade, you can use these confluences. If you see these confluences, you will seldom see them failing. All right, so go ahead and check it. I will not be taking a long time explaining all these things, so I decided to just show you these few things just to keep you updated on some of these things that can help you price coming and pushing up. All right, guys, so see you in another video. Don't forget to also subscribe to this YouTube channel and to turn the bell notification so that you will get notified every time I post video. All right, guys, see you in another video.